What a surreal moment for all of video games. After 13 years passed from the release of the last Half-Life game, and the three biggest writers of the franchise left the company in 2016 and 2017, no hope was left for the Half-Life franchise and Valve in general. We had all started to fully accept it, say our last goodbyes to Valve, and start to move on, when out of the blue, Valve just drops a tweet like, "So yeah, Half-Life 3, just out of nowhere," and the internet just fucking explodes. I remember hearing rumors for how many years about it from people like Valve News Network who were super confident about it existing and not believing it, mostly so Valve couldn't hurt me again when it ended up being untrue, but he ended up getting one hell of a last laugh because Half-Life Alyx is real all along, and in classic Valve fashion, it's secretly been in development for a long time. And that seems to be one of its biggest pros, with it being the most detailed and polished VR game ever made from all the time that's been put into it. But it also ended up being one of its biggest cons, from having some seriously outdated VR design tropes. You see, development of the game started in 2016, right when VR first started becoming open to the public. At the time, no one really knew what they were doing when designing VR games, and Valve adopted the philosophy that, because of people who have motion sickness issues, you should never move the player under any circumstance. So no jumping, no falling, and not even any moving, because they thought that teleport only was the way to go. And because of the fact that there are like no VR games, even as the VR community started shifting towards smooth locomotion being the future of the medium, no game big enough came along to really prove Valve wrong in this philosophy. Up until the last minute, that is. Near the end of Half-Life Alyx's development cycle, Boneworks came along, a game that was a huge deal for VR where you don't even have the option to turn on teleportation, a game where you're climbing and falling and getting thrown around, and VR fans love it and want it to be the direction the platform goes, and Valve's just sitting there all like, oh shit. They did their best to add smooth locomotion to the game at the last minute, but it was too late to have it work seamlessly because teleport only was so integrated into the game already. Here's the gotcha. When using smooth locomotion, you still have to use teleportation along with it. What do I mean by this? Well, they never added a jump button because there's no need for one with teleportation, and they just couldn't add a jump button to the game because of the way that it was designed. So anytime you have to get from a faraway platform to another faraway platform, you still have to teleport with a teleportation button that just gets remapped to another spot on the controller when you choose smooth locomotion. Not only that, but they also didn't add a sprint, and the smooth locomotion movement might actually be slower than heavy in TF2. So anytime you're in a gunfight and you need to get from cover to cover, or anytime you just want to get anywhere quickly, you have to teleport. Now after accepting this and getting used to it, I actually found this system of using smooth locomotion and teleport in unison to feel kind of nice, but it still doesn't feel as nice as nothing but smooth locomotion. And when it being paired with other outdated things, like floating hands and the lack of melee attacks, I could see it being a deal breaker for some fans of VR. Half-Life games have the issue that, because of the fact that they're always used to show off new technology, the inverse effect of that is that they always end up aging poorly, and with the way that VR is evolving, that trend is not going to stop with Half-Life Alyx. Hell, it's already become dated the day it came out. But what's amazing is that for any other VR game, this all could have been a death sentence, but it isn't a death sentence for Half-Life Alyx, because the game design everywhere else is so good that you're just willing to let it slide. From the very first second you start at Half-Life Alyx and you glance over the balcony at City 17 with the under construction citadel looming in the background, you'll probably mutter a little wow to yourself. And that's with good reason. We've never seen a VR game with this fidelity before, and it's pretty amazing. From the sharp textures and models, to the fantastic sound design, to the beautiful animation. I have no idea how they were able to make the character movement so lifelike in this game, but when I saw people moving for the first time while in VR, it almost made me feel creeped out. There's a literal uncanny valley effect going on with the character movement in this game. That's how spot on it is. Speaking of characters, Half-Life Alyx features something foreign to the Half-Life franchise, a talking protagonist, featuring a new voice actor for Alyx, who I actually didn't mind. A lot of the game is full of Portal 2-esque humor from the banter between Alyx and this new character named Russell. It works better than it may seem, and there's actually some clever lines and world building that come from it.
What is this place anyway?
It's a distillery. They made vodka and things like that.
Is vodka good?
Oh God, no.
Russell doesn't like vodka. Got it.
Well, I never said that.
But it's not good?
It's poison.
But
But I love it. Everyone loves it.
Okay, that's all very confusing. Let me figure out how to get in, and then I'll find you stuff.
Wonderful if you could, actually, yes.
But if the idea of constant chattering in a Half-Life game still sounds sacrilegious to you, don't worry. They find ways to have Russell's call cut out whenever it's time for the atmosphere to take center stage.
There's definitely a bunch of old bottles in here. Does alcohol go bad?
It only improves. It's all good, Alex.
Russell, you're breaking up.
The vodka is good, Alex. The vodka is good.
While the game has more of an emphasis on atmosphere and slow exploration this time around, that doesn't mean that it's devoid of any action. The combat is a lot of fun and has more depth than it seems. Enemies may initially seem like bullet sponges, but it's because you're supposed to always look for weak points, like spots on headcrab zombies that cause the headcrabs on them to explode, or shooting gas canisters on the back of Combine soldiers. And you can always scan the area as you're in a fight for grenades to toss at the tougher enemies or for ammo to use. Reloading surprisingly adds a new layer of depth to the shooting now. The simple events of putting in a new magazine require significantly more time and concentration because you have to grab a new magazine from your shoulder, eject the empty magazine, put the new magazine in, and cock the gun all yourself manually instead of just tapping the R key. And you also have to stay mindful of how much ammo you have left in your gun and use up all the bullets in a magazine or else you'll be wasting ammo. Both are initially small mechanics that add a different layer to the shooting than you're probably used to. Although they only give you 3 different guns this time around, they all have more variety than you may initially think because they all have various useful upgrades, such as laser sights, burst fires, and even the ability to use the shotgun as a grenade launcher that you purchase at upgrade stations with Combine resin that you find scattered across the map. It's always been a part of Half-Life to hide ammo and loot all over the place to reward players who explore, and here it's no different. This time around, to help with that, they give you a pair of gravity gloves, the precursor to the famous gravity gun in Half-Life 2. The gravity gloves allow you to aim at, pull in, and then catch any item that can be interacted with. It's actually an incredibly satisfying mechanic and makes rummaging all around the expertly crafted environments for loot all the more enjoyable. It works so intuitively that one day when I went to the store after playing Life Alyx, I saw this box of cereal across the aisle that I wanted to look at, and for a split second I almost pointed my wrist at it and flicked it to get the box of cereal to me. Certain loot and areas can only be accessed by hacking or solving a puzzle, and this can range from simple matching games to a more video gamey type puzzle thing where you guide something around obstacles like threading a needle. The puzzles where you have to match the colors, and the puzzles where you have to guide the circle around while avoiding the red dots were alright. I didn't dislike solving them, but I definitely wouldn't care in any way whatsoever if I never saw them again for the rest of my life. However, I thought the puzzle you have to do to hack the trip mines and the upgrade stations worked pretty well, and the puzzles where you have to guide electricity through the wires in the wall were actually kind of fun, and added to the world really well. I found that when it comes to VR games, there are some games where I do feel like I'm there, and others where I just feel like I'm an asshole with a screen strapped to my face. But in Life Alyx, whether I was in a rundown hotel, an old vodka distillery, or a basement infested with zen foliage, this is one where I always felt like I could reach out and touch everything, and it's because the atmosphere, the level design, and the gameplay are all so spot on. One of the things that made Life Alyx meaningful to me was actually the wonder I felt leading up to it. From the days preceding it, I would spend a lot of time just imagining what it would be like playing in the game, and I would closely follow and stay up to date with the community and news. And the day it came out, it felt like waking up on Christmas. Life Alyx is really the first time ever since I was a little kid that I've genuinely passionately been excited and looking forward to the release of a video game. It took me back to being a child when the only thing that was important to you was playing and thinking about video games. And that's all because, not only have I never experienced the release of a Half-Life game, but I never got to experience the release of any Valve game ever after they became my favorite developer, and I was so sure that I was never going to be able to experience that. I remember watching those videos showing the downfall of Half-Life 3 and Valve, and getting sad that this developer that was a source of so much inspiration to me had lost its spark, and was probably no longer in the business of making the games that meant a lot to me. But after playing through Life Alyx, it's become evident. Valve is back and they've still got it. And after experiencing one of the best video game endings I've come across, another thing has become evident. We will be getting more Valve games. We will be getting more Valve VR games. And most of all, we will be getting more Half-Life games. And I'm so glad that I finally got to see this day.
cock and ball torture, Dr. Freeman.